Hey guys, Evan Laux here for Motorcycle and Powersports News. We are at the Crawford Museum in Cleveland, Ohio, and right here we have a 1955 AJS 18CS Scrambler, and it's your Ride of the Week. So guys, we're joined here by John Lutch. He's going to tell us all about this really cool bike. And John, you know, to somebody who's not super familiar with, historic motorcycles, this thing might look pretty fancy and it's like a high-class bike, but this is actually a dirt bike right here.
Yeah, it is. It's actually the first dirt bike, first factory-produced dirt bike, specially built for that.
Right.
AJS was a long-standing company in Great Britain, built very high-quality bikes, very successful in racing. And there was a growing popularity in Great Britain for off-road racing, and the company came out with a 500cc single that was perfect for that. It was, stripped down, although it looks like a very complete bike today, and kind of luxurious by the way it's fitted out.
Yeah.
But back in those days, this was a pretty bare bones. There's no electrics or anything like that on the bike, so it was a pretty light frame altogether with no accessories. So it had a bit of a performance edge to it. And again, the funny thing is, every time we're talking about 1950s motorcycles today, they're all black and gold.
Yep.
It's like they ran out of paint and they had a good deal on black and gold paint back.
Not for another 10 years or so, they discovered those colors.
Exactly. So there's a real interesting similarity between all the British bikes of this time period. They kind of look the same. But this one was really the first purpose-built off-road racer. The Americans found out about it and they started to import them here into the States and were very, very successful out west when they were doing desert racing, for example.
Right. You got those really deep treads on the tires here.
Right. But unlike some of the other bikes we were talking about, like the Dirt Tracker and stuff, this one has the luxury of having a front and a rear brake, so you could save yourself from imminent disaster. And but this was a real trendsetter back in the day, and it basically started the whole off-road craze.
I don't know about the laws back then. Could you buy something like this just for road use?
I don't think so. Not if it didn't have any electrics on it at all. I don't think you could legally ride it on the street. They were still, there were regulations in place where you had to have a tail light and a headlight, not necessarily turn signals, but just basic headlight, tail light kind of thing. And here there's no electrics whatsoever on the bike, so it's pretty, by 1955 standards, it's pretty pared down. This one has the luxury of having a rear shocks, which the Dirt Trackers don't have, so it's a little bit more comfortable. But I still wouldn't want to take this on the Baja 1000.
Right. Now, for people not familiar with AJS, they eventually merged with Norton, correct?
Yeah, in the late 50s, the British economy was not doing spectacularly well. The Japanese were starting to make inroads into the motorcycle arena, and companies found themselves either duplicating products or financially needing the support of another company. So they would have these convenient marriages of companies and then kind of carry on from there.
Right.
Unfortunately for AJS and Norton, it didn't really last a whole lot longer than that.
Now you've mentioned that this is kind of the first production motorcycle. Obviously it doesn't kind of look like what we view as a motorcycle today. If you're looking like 10 years ahead from when this came out, what were some of the advancements that came after this bike was manufactured?
Probably weight reduction and suspensions. There was, this is basically not much more than street travel in terms of the suspension. As you know, later on, off-road suspensions became enormous in terms of their travel and the amount of compression that they could handle.
Right.
A bike like this would be probably fairly uncomfortable in extreme circumstances, whereas the more modern off-roaders can handle that with ease.
Right. John, is there anything else on the bike here that we missed or anything to touch on?
I don't think that there's anything that we missed really. It's a pretty simple, straightforward bike, but it's a wonderful example of where something started, and that something is off-road racing. Since this was really the first purpose-built factory-built off-road racer. It's kind of a landmark from which everything else evolves.
It would be cool to sit this next to like a dirt bike from today. And just,
oh yeah.
They look completely different.
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely.
Well, John, thanks for telling us about this bike. It's really cool learning about the first off-road production motorcycle. So guys, again, this is an AJS 18CS Scrambler. It was the first ever production off-road motorcycle. And if you guys want to see a lot of really cool historic bikes like this, make sure you're checking out the Crawford Museum and also following us at Motorcycle and Powersports News across our social media pages, because we're posting a lot of cool Ride of the Week content there. Thanks for watching, guys.